According to the founding myth of Equestria. Founding myth of Equestria. Celestia and Luna were born from the hearth-warming fire,
forged by friendship of the three tribes into the first Alicorns. This, however, is only a myth. The royal sisters were, in truth, born the same as any other pony. In the early age of harmony, shortly after the three tribes united, to a unicorn named Sunshine and a Pegasus named Nebula. The twins were held up as symbols of the union between tribes, and after the twins managed to raise the sun and moon together, earning their cutie marks in tandem, the people began to rally behind them. The rulers of the new nation, known as the Council of Harmony, Queen Platinum, Clover the Clever, Chancellor Puddinghead, Smart Cookie, Commander Hurricane, and Private Pansy, came to an agreement with the children and their parents that the two would officially be considered monarchs, serving as figureheads and symbols while the council did the actual heavy lifting of leading their country. In the current age, the princesses have never admitted it publicly, as they felt no need to, with it being so scrubbed from history, but they once had a brother. Dusk was nothing. He had inherited no magic from his parents. He was not a unicorn or a Pegasus. He was not even an earth pony, as he did not have the magic for it. He was nothing. But when he stood next to his sisters, even from such a young age, they looked right, like a complete set. A unicorn, a Pegasus, and an apparent earth pony who were siblings. It fit so well into everyone's agendas that they just went with it. Not even old enough that he had developed his cutie mark. Barely old enough to develop his cutie mark, Dusk was made into a prince, in name alone, with no sway in decisions, and kept on such a tight leash that it was suffocating. Alicorns are not born. They come to exist when a pony is imbued with the magic of unicorn, Pegasus, and earth pony. As far as anyone knew, this process was wholly divine, that the goddess Harmony would anoint her chosen with incredible power to conquer and protect and dazzle the world with their brilliance. And in a way that was true. The secret to artificial alicornhood was first cracked by Merlin the Wise, and later perfected by her son, Star Swirl the Bearded. Every pony had their tale of great alicorns, as demigods and heroes, and they all held reverence for them. So when the council figured they could create alicorns out of their new royalty, well, why not? They began with Celestia, surrounding their princess and imbuing her with their magic, and she transformed. Overwhelmed with power, she became unrecognizable, a blur of light and shrieking, with eyes and limbs where they should not be. You see, the overflow of magic required to become an alicorn warps and distorts a pony's mortal body when they first transform. When they first transform, they appear eldritch and terrible, 1,000 limbs and 1,000,000 eyes writhing in pain and wailing with 100 tongues. As the new Alicorn gains her bearings, she forces her vessel into the bones and flesh she remembers existing. But she cannot shrink back into a pony, so she stretches, her legs and wings and horn and hair too long and hastily shaped from the magic that will not hold still. Celestia was the first in hundreds of years. Her siblings witnessed it, and while Luna looked haunted, Dusk was... He looked excited, amazed, like his eyes had opened for the first time in his life as he gazed straight into the sun and knew his destiny. Next was Luna. Then was Luna's turn. After the ritual, she locked herself in her room for days, sickened by her body. Any time she caught sight of herself, she became hysterical, thrown back into the pain and fear of her transformation. When she emerged, every reflective surface that had once dwelt in her room was unrecognizable, and so was she. And then their brother. The two had put it off as long as they could, wanting to spare him the trauma, but the council pushed forward, and so it was done. They braced themselves as the magic hit, and leaned on each other as it warped him. They thought Dusk would cry, in pain, in fear. They thought he would need their comfort, but instead he laughed. A peal of raucous laughter burst out of his chest like a cannon blast, and the room twisted and turned like a funhouse mirror, and he cackled. And sparks flew out of him and became flowers and became guns and became 10-dimensional shapes. And he giggled and brought his sisters to their knees, which were now his, which were nothing and everything and whatever he wanted to be. Dusk hadn't meant to frighten them, but he hadn't meant not to either. It felt freeing to be powerful. He came down from it eventually. Having been nothing, he'd never experienced the wild magic surges most children went through, never learned to harness his own power, and so he didn't have the instinctual self-control of his siblings. His form continued to be odd for a few weeks, but his sisters coerced him into looking normal eventually. And peace came to Equestria with its 3 rulers, and it was so boring. As the years crept onward, Dusk became restless, his childhood stolen from him, his freedom stolen from him, and even when he was practically a god, his power was stolen from him too, suffocated by this role he was forced to play. He never stopped thinking of his first taste of magic, of how good it felt to have everyone look at him and be afraid. Who could blame him for wanting a bit of fun, to let loose a little? And yeah, maybe he mostly wanted to just throw a wrench in his sister's peaceful tyranny. But was that really so bad? What was the fun of making sense of the twisted world when he could just twist it up more? A paradise of complete madness, of discord. Just for a day. Just for a moment. To stretch his wings out and breathe. It's a pity, really, how quickly his only taste of freedom was ripped away. When Discord was freed once more, he no longer considered Celestia and Luna his sisters. Hell, he didn't consider himself a pony. It's not like they remembered him anyway. How much did they have to hate him to scrub him from their history so completely? It didn't matter. No one could force him to play like they were more than strangers, like they had never picked him up for piggyback rides, or flew him over the town, or show him each and every new spell they learned, or called him Little Imp so affectionately, or taken the blame when he broke Mom's favorite plate, or... It didn't matter. It hadn't mattered to them, so it didn't matter to him. They had called him a Draconicus, a monster, but he was one of them. He was theirs, and they wouldn't even claim him, and that was fine. He wasn't Dusk. Dusk's time on the planet had long since passed, and it was the dawn of a new person long ago. He was Discord, and that was fine.